G'day, ZiggyD here with my review and summary of the changes currently featured on the patch 1.0.8 public test realm for Diablo 3. So this patch is fairly large, obviously, with having a PTR, and it went live the other day, and I've been doing a bit of testing since then. The main two focuses of this particular patch are improving the multiplayer experience, so incentivizing multiplayer play, and also improving monster density in other acts besides Act 3, because that's obviously been a pretty serious issue. Both of these have been pretty serious issues for Diablo 3. And before I even go into the actual changes and what I think of them, I have to say Blizzard is taking huge steps in the right direction with Diablo 3, with every major patch they release. The only problem is they're doing them very slowly, so I guess there's something to be said for, the thing that you take time to make perfect, and then, the end result could be fantastic, but it's just going to take so long to get there. So this is, overall, I'm very pleased with this patch so far, but I'll jump into some of the things. So the minor changes are like some quality of life sort of things, like there's now an identify all option. Some people will be cheering about that, I'm sure. And there's also like a crafting selection option, so you can select to craft 20 of a certain type of item, and it'll automatically do those, so you don't have to keep clicking the bottom. There's a few minor changes like that. So the footage you'll be seeing in the background is mostly footage from Act 1, because I was trying a few different locations there. The reason for that is Act 1 is my favourite act in the game, and I was really hoping that eventually that would improve the monster density so that it would be, worthwhile farming in line with Act 3. I don't think it's quite there yet after testing, but a few of the zones are much better. A lot of the zones I'm showing in the background are the ones that have been improved. Basically the developers are going over each zone individually and seeing how much they need to increase the density. So this density change happens in Monster Power 1 and above for Acts 1, 2, and 4. So basically, if you're playing a Monster Power 0, you're not going to notice any difference, which is probably a good thing for your first run through the game. But if you're in Inferno and you're trying to farm the other zone, the other acts, that means you can pop in Act 1, pop it on a higher Monster Power, and actually, get some decent XP and loot. So overall, pretty good. A few of the places I still feel like are kind of sparse. I was hoping for like jam-packed full of skeletons in the cemetery and things like that. But there are some pretty big differences in zones, and it's much more frantic and much more enjoyable. I think this is something the game really, really needed, and hopefully it'll be something. The PTR will probably be live for a few weeks, and I imagine over time they'll go over the zones again and improve the density even further if they've determined that they need to. So another sort of major change, in addition to improving the density in other acts, is they've made killing elites before doing your farming run have a greater incentive now. So basically, before you'd get the Nephilim Valor stacks, and that would improve your XP, which is important for Paragon leveling, obviously. But now this is like a multiplier, so it actually multiplies the other XP bonuses that you have from gear or from the Monster Power and things like that. So that makes getting those Nephilim Valor stacks much more beneficial. So I think that it's probably a good change, because people were doing things like just farming scorpions over and over again without killing any elites. And this might encourage people to kill elites. I think it'll still be efficient just doing trash mob runs in certain high density areas, but hopefully this will balance it out a bit between doing elite runs as well. So that's a pretty good change. In terms of the multiplayer changes, because this might be a big one for a lot of people, in the past multiplayer was generally seen as less efficient than solo play, and you just did it if you wanted to have a bit of fun. Now what they've done to to fix this a bit, or to go some ways towards fixing this, is they've now given players now receive a 10% bonus to Magic Find, Gold Find, and Experience per additional player in the multiplayer game. So this is the same sort of thing that they have in Diablo 2, where the loot and everything improves as you add players to the game. But since loot wasn't instanced in Diablo 2, it made sense. Now it didn't really make sense to add that into Diablo 3, except for that party play just ended up being slower. Also, to stack on top of that, monsters have also had their HP scaling in multiplayer play down from 70% to 50%. So that means it should be a bit quicker to kill things in a party, and the added life per extra player won't make such a big difference. The other changes that have been made are some extra improvements to actually finding parties. So now there's like a sort of like a queue system where it's got like a little timer countdown. Unfortunately, in the PTR I couldn't find any parties, so I couldn't fully test it out. But the system seems better. You can now select an option to join people doing any quest rather than having to select the right quest that they're on. So that should add a little bit more variety, and should make finding parties easier, which is good, as if the population's not quite so high when you're playing, you should be able to find a party a little bit easier. The final interesting change to party play that I just noticed, that isn't a major one, but I thought it was a nice little addition, was that now when someone in your party engages an elite or a goblin or something like that, it sends a little notification down the bottom. So you might have noticed this in this actual footage. Whenever I engage something, it puts that little notification down the bottom. So that's great for if you want to, you know, jump in on your party members to kill some stuff. It's also really good for hardcore because now above their flags, their banners in town, it shows like a shield if they're engaged with trash mobs, and then a red shield if they're engaged with an elite or something like that. So that's great for hardcore because you don't accidentally put a banner on someone that is, you know, currently getting killed, because it could get you killed while you load in. So that's another pretty good change. Overall, as I was saying, nice big steps in the right direction from Blizzard. Just happens so slowly. Hopefully, you know, this is another good step, and you know, by the time the expansions come out, they'll have a really solid game to expand upon. And you know, I look forward to returning to it, you know, every now and then and testing things out whenever interesting changes happen. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.